Good afternoon, everyone. Hope you can hear me okay. Delighted to be here. Water, as you know, is one of our most precious resources, and we are blessed in this country in particular, are supposed to have an abundant amount of fresh water and rain, but we all know it's our job to look after it. Our climate is changing, and our infrastructure has to be able to cope with this now and into the future. Today, I'd like to share with you, I suppose, what we see in Uisce Éireann as our purpose and our vision. I want to comment on the progress that we have made as an organisation. In Uisce Éireann, sustainability is at the heart of what we do. We're committed to prioritising water quality, protecting public health, the resilience of our water services, protecting the environment as we plan for future climate changes and population challenges. I want to talk today, I suppose, about our approach to planning for the future. I want to just show you how policy drives our strategic long-term approach. Last year, we would have initiated our 2050 project, which would have involved a strategic foresight process with our stakeholders, some of you that are in the room. This was with the purpose of informing our next water services strategic plan. I'm going to talk to you a bit about some of our asset plans and give you an overview of where we are with our next regulatory control process for RC4. As you know, so much of the capital investment that I suppose we do and others do results in carbon. And, our construction delivery, as we know, can impact on the national environment and biodiversity. And with this in mind, we are very mindful that we need to do things differently so that we can protect the environment. And I suppose at the end then, I'm going to conclude probably with my main messages here today, which I'm just going to iterate at the start, but we really see the need to have more adaptive and integrated planning. And we also know that collaboration will be fundamental if we are to be successful in investing for water in the context of climate change. So actually, I don't have the, here, apologies. Thank you. So, Uisce Éireann, I suppose, we're the national utility for public water services. And some might say, what is it we do? We're responsible for the delivery of secure, safe, sustainable water services. We see our purpose as rising to the challenge of delivering transformative water that will enable our communities to thrive. And we have a vision for a sustainable Ireland where water is respected and protected for the planet and all the lives that it supports. We have made significant progress. We've achieved a lot in the 8 to 9 years since we've been formed. We would have constructed or upgraded 125 wastewater treatment plants since 2014. We've invested over 750 million in eliminating the majority of our raw sewage discharges. We're making good progress to have these completed by the end of 2025. Our wastewater treatment plant compliance on a per plant basis with the Urban Wastewater Treatment Directive has increased from 71% in 2014 to over 90% today. Between the second and third cycle river basin management plan, we have achieved a reduction in the number of water bodies for which urban wastewater is a significant pressure, from 291 down to 208. This would have been the biggest reduction of any sector, and we continue to move in the right direction towards the ultimate achievement of the Water Framework Directive goals. We would have constructed or upgraded 70 water treatment plants, again since 2014, and over 99.7% of our water supplies are fully compliant with the drinking water regulations, and we continue, as I said, to prioritise that high water quality. We've reduced leakage from 48% in 2014 to 37% in 2022. In this time, we've probably invested 6.4 billion, and we're probably on track to get that up to 9 billion by the end of 2024. But in order to deliver, I suppose, a water service fit for purpose, we have to plan appropriately, and we have to plan for the future. So we adopt a very much a long-term approach, I suppose, a tiered approach to our strategic planning in Uisce Éireann. Our approach is informed by a number of policy and legislative drivers, including the European directives that you'll be familiar with, the Drinking Water Directive, the Water Framework Directive, the Urban Wastewater Treatment Directive, and national policy. And a key piece of national policy for us is the Water Services Policy Statement. This is where the government would set out, I suppose, to us what their expectations are of us, and for others in the water services in terms of the delivery and development of water services. In response, we would have our water services strategic plan, and this is where Uisce Éireann sets out our long-term objectives and our strategies, I suppose, in enabling us to actually deliver on those objectives. Our current water services strategic plan was first published in 2015, and we always feel it's worth calling out because it really was a document of note at the time. It was Ireland's first integrated national strategy for the delivery of water services. And this document very much sets the context for us in terms of subsequent implementation plans and strategies. One that you might be familiar with that's shown there on the right would be the National Water Resources Plan, but we have others such as the National Sludge Management Plan. Under the Water Services Act, we are expected to review the progress we're making on implementing our Water Services Strategic Plan every 5 years. We have conducted such a review in 2020 and deemed that we were making steady progress on implementing that, and that the strategic objectives in the plan continue to be appropriate at that time. However, it was agreed that we needed to be looking ahead, and with that, we would have conducted a strategic foresight exercise. This was a process we engaged our shareholders in and many sectorial experts. The purpose, as I said, was really to inform the next Water Services Strategic Plan, which we would see running from 2025 to 2050. And in this, I suppose, we will be very mindful of climate change and the other challenges facing us. But we really saw this as our opportunity, I suppose, to stand back and to ask ourselves the right questions. There's lots of talk about, I suppose, the different major trends that are impacting and shaping our future. We've had a lot of talk about climate change here. We've all experienced some of what that is and more to come. In recent times, I suppose, we've had the pandemic shock, we've had the energy crisis, and we've the war in Ukraine. We all know we can't predict exactly what will happen, but we need to start exploring, I suppose, alternative, plausible futures. If we can understand the impacts of these forces and change, we have a better chance of being able to deliver the services that we believe will be expected of us in 2050. As mentioned yesterday, I suppose strategic foresight is very much a structured and systematic way of using ideas to think about the future and anticipate and better prepare for the change that might come. Through this process, we believe we can lead the transformation of water services. We know, I suppose, we can't create the future, but we have the ability to influence it. So far, I suppose, with our stakeholders, we've probably identified 7 desired outcomes, a number of cross-cutting strategic enablers for opportunities and pathways that would lead us to our desired outcomes. We believe internally in Uisce Éireann we'll have to lead on some of these, but there will be other areas where we are going to be dependent on a high level of collaboration with the wider water sector, including all of you here in this room. Here I'm just, as I mentioned, our Water Services Strategic Plan is our Tier 1 strategy, and it sets the context for our subsequent implementation plans. And the one I'm showing here is the National Water Resources Plan, which is our 25-year strategy for ensuring safe, sustainable, secure and reliable water services. We've 4 regional plans under this. Our final plan is going to be going out to consultation next month in the southeast. But this looks at, I suppose, what we need, I suppose, to transform the water services infrastructure that we have today, our supplies, our abstractions, in order to be able to provide the service that's needed. And this is particularly important for the future context. I suppose climate change, the pressures that we're under, drought, the evolving regulations, landscape, I suppose, particularly with respect to abstractions. The outcome of this plan, I suppose, is the roadmap, as we would see it, for providing sustainable resources that will be less vulnerable to the impacts of climate change, be calling out for improved treatment and better interconnectivity of our supply areas. An interconnected network supplied by resilient sources will ensure that our infrastructure can be adaptable to changing population demographics and the economic development, but it will also be more resilient to extreme weather events. This year we will commence some of our strategic wastewater plans as well. How do we actually go about, I suppose, deciding what we invest in and where we go? And I suppose, as I said on the left here, this is where policy direction coming from our Water Services Policy Statement. We're also conscious or cognizant of many other plans, the River Basin Management Plan, the Climate Action Plan, Housing for All, the National Planning Framework, Regional, County and Development Plans. That all drives, I suppose, the approach we're looking at in identifying the future need. In terms of looking at our asset and service needs then within the infrastructure that we're managing, I suppose we're aware of challenges that we have in terms of the infrastructure we have. Some of it's old in terms of providing that service, but we also would consult with our stakeholders and our regulators to understand their priorities. We're managing a significant risk profile right across our asset base. And it's our job, I suppose, to balance that, how we reduce that risk in terms with also managing the transformation of our asset portfolio to actually be able to deliver on like our National Water Resources Plan. And this is where we'd probably bring what we would seem as best appropriate asset management practice to drive that decision-making process. In delivering our investment plan, we probably come to that third column, the constraints. We are facing many challenges in getting our infrastructure to plan it and to actually deliver it. Some would say the planning now is taking longer than the actual delivery, that the construction almost takes care of itself. But we have many challenges here. We have to operate within the available funding envelope. We have to manage the uncertainty around inflation, the uncertainty that we deal with in terms of going through our consenting process, and our supply chain availability is another big factor. You can imagine this has been a massive huge need, starting from the left and moving across. And we go through a prioritisation approach to get to the formation of a capital investment plan in each 5-year regulatory cycle. From our perspective in Uisce Éireann, I suppose our challenge is that we have so many worthy investment cases that we want to deliver, but we are constrained. And I suppose this is where we have to make some hard decisions to decide what it is we do now to actually prioritise the right investment at the right time. We're preparing right now for RC4, as I said. Our Stage 1 stakeholder engagement process has been complete. We're now preparing a draft of our capital investment plan. We'll be going to a wider round of stakeholder consultation on that mid-summer. And then we'll move to finalising that plan through the end of the year, and then we'll be presenting that to the Commission Regulation of Utilities in December. They will go to further public consultation on that next year, and we would expect a final decision to be made on that in Q4 2024. We're going to be continuing with the main themes. We would see it around quality, future-proofing and conservation, but we see sustainability and resilience being a much bigger factor in our investment plan next time round. So, mentioned sustainability at the start. Look, it's in the hearts and minds of everybody within the company. It's central to what we're doing in terms of planning for our investment in water services now and into the future. We're aiming to, I suppose, mitigate the climate risks through evidence-based analysis and strategic long-term planning. We're developing a roadmap to be net zero carbon by 2040, and we're implementing a number of initiatives in the circular economy, biodiversity, energy efficiency, the supply chain and our corporate culture. We're supporting a number of different sponsorships. Think Before You Flush, Think Before You Pour, our educational partnerships. We have our own accredited water stewardship programme working with industry. But then maybe some other tangible examples like Ringsend. We're currently installing additional combined heat and power generation and digesting capacity, and that's with the aim of increasing our generation from biogas or self-use on site from 40% up to 50%. We've begun a solar energy project to roll out PV across 1,700 of our water and wastewater treatment sites, and that's following a number of successful pilots. But we need more innovation, and we do need to find new ways of providing the services and finding the solutions, I suppose, to actually ensure we have the right water services there while protecting the environment and enhancing the biodiversity. As I said at the start, much of our capital investment does result in carbon and does have an impact on the natural environment and on the biodiversity. While carrying out, I suppose, our essential maintenance and delivering transforming our infrastructure, we are very committed to protecting the environment. We know we have to deliver a capital investment plan in a sustainable way, and we're focused now at having energy efficiency design in all of our capital projects, and we're looking to promote the use of nature-based solutions. Some examples on the slide there would show like our integrated construction wetlands, sludge drying reed beds, suds, grasscrete. You're familiar with them all, but we need to bring all these options into our investment plan. We also recognise, I suppose, the need to increase and accelerate efforts to halt the decline of biodiversity, and we're committed to building infrastructure that protects and, where possible, enhances our ecosystems. I presume you're aware we would have launched our first biodiversity action plan in spring 2021, and we've had a lot of talk here today, I suppose, and yesterday as well, about plans, but we're very much in the implementation stage of this plan. And we really believe that we can leave things better than we found them. And maybe just to give you an example of some of the progress we've made here at our operational sites, we are implementing measures to better manage our grasslands, our trees and our hedgerows. We've banned the use of pesticides. We've had a lot of engagement with the caretakers on the ground, and I would say we've active measures in place now on 50% of our sites. In our infrastructure delivery sites, we are aiming to achieve no net loss of biodiversity gain at a minimum, and we are seeking to have a positive biodiversity net gain on a number of these sites. In 23, we've planted 40,000 native trees so far, with a target of 50,000 by year end. We're committed to continuing with these native woodlands where appropriate, along with other measures in our plan. But this is really only the start of a journey, and we know we really need to do things differently. I suppose one of the key things that we're doing is rolling out a lot of training, both within our own staff, the engineering service providers that support us, but also the caretakers on the ground, because we know the engineers have to actually find the right solutions here to assist us. And that training is all about empowering people, and it is about driving a cultural mindset, and we're starting to see it having an impact. And sorry, I'm watching the clock here. In planning for our long-term future in Uisce Éireann, though, we do need an adaptive, integrated planning process. There's uncertainty out there. We don't know what way it's going to turn out, but we have to be able to adapt and respond to that. And so we have to start planning with uncertainty in mind. And it's only by doing this it'll give us the agility to adapt, I suppose, to alternative scenarios that will play out. But we do believe to best face these challenges in delivering your service, we have to continue protecting and improving the natural environment. We are dependent on the natural environment to provide the services that we are here to do. And we also need strong cross-sector collaboration. We can't go it alone. We're part of the water cycle, and we need to work together for continued success in investing for the future in a changing climate. So, thank you.